If you've spent any time watching SpongeBob, you've probably noticed that Squidward often ends up in the worst possible situations. Squidward is that neighbor who just wants some peace and quiet, but instead, he gets endless chaos courtesy of SpongeBob and Patrick. Like, bro's life is just a never-ending series of unfortunate events.
It's the best band.
Now, the term Squidward Torture refers to the recurring theme in SpongeBob where Squidward often faces just the worst things possible, and one could say that they're very often undeserved. This concept originated in the early seasons of the show, where Squid's suffering was frequently shown for comedic effect. Initially, these instances of misfortune were somewhat justified, as Squidward's negative attitude and behavior often led to his downfall. In the first 3 seasons, Squidward's misfortunes were more balanced and often rooted in his own actions. Episodes like Jellyfishing showcase Squidward's behavior, leading to humorous and painful consequences. In Jellyfishing, SpongeBob and Patrick are gearing up for a day of jellyfishing. They're super excited and even offer Squidward a special made net to join them. But of course, Squidward, being his sarcastic self, declines and mocks their jellyfishing plans. But then, as he bikes away, laughing at the thought of spending the day with them, he accidentally swallows a jellyfish, which set off a chain of painful events. The jellyfish stings him, causing him to lose control of his bike and crashes down a rocky hill, ending in a massive explosion for some reason. But this episode is a great example of Squidward's sarcastic and just like really rude behavior leading directly to his own suffering. In a way that's exaggerated, but it's actually funny. These early episodes presented a form of comedic justice. Squid's suffering was a result of his own negativity, making the audience feel to some extent that he kind of deserved it. Now, as SpongeBob progressed into season 6 through 8, the nature of Squidward Torture began to shift noticeably. And these seasons, Squidward's suffering often seemed less justified and were just put up for no reason. Moving away from the more caramel reasoning seen in the earlier episodes like Choir Boys and Boating Buddies exemplify this shift. In Choir Boys, Squidward's only goal is to join a chair, which if you ask me, that's a pretty good aspiration. Yet, throughout the whole episode, he is relentlessly tormented by SpongeBob, who unintentionally ruins all of his chances at every turn. Now, in Boating Buddies, Squidward's suffering is magnified to a point where it seems uncalled for. At boating school, Squidward's forced to sit next to SpongeBob, and during lunch, Squidward tries to escape from him by eating in the bathroom, only to mistake a tough guy for SpongeBob, and he gets beaten up off screen. When he returned to class, he was just completely messed up. The driving test was another disaster. SpongeBob drives recklessly like always, leading them to crash into a research lab. They get struck and washed down a drain, with Squidward ending up in another bathroom where he encounters the same tough guy and gets beaten up for a second time. By the end, they're back in class for final exam. Squid's hands are so bandaged that he can't even pick up a pencil. He's forced to ask SpongeBob for help, which is like super humiliating after all the trouble that he's gone through. But despite Squidward admitting that they are boating buddies, time runs out and Squidward has to retake the test next week, along with SpongeBob. Then the episode just ends with Squidward screaming in utter frustration. But unlike earlier seasons where Squidward's attitude might have played a part in his fate, these episodes just present him as a victim, making his torture seem unjust and just a little overly harsh. The shift in treatment for Squidward was a point of conversation amongst fans for a while, but it wasn't really that crazy. From season 9 onward, Squidward Torture took on a whole new dimension, blending both the humor and the harshness seen in earlier seasons. These modern episodes often portray Squidward in situations where his suffering is exaggerated to the point of no return. But I will say that this evolution did feel like it was aiming towards both to entertain and evoke emotion from the audience, so I will give him that. Episodes like Squid Baby and Ink Lemonade are prime examples of the extreme seen in modern Squidward Torture. In Squid Baby, Squidward ends up behaving like a baby after a head injury, leading to, of course, a series of humiliating and degrading scenarios. Bro slips on a toy and hits his head, resulting in a severe head injury. He gets diagnosed with head go boom boomitis, leaving him mentally and socially an infant. Patrick then throws him up into the ceiling, hurting his head again. He crawls into the street and almost gets hit by a bus. Patrick lifts and then drops the road onto Squidward's head. He gets dropped in a cage by SpongeBob and Patrick, leading to days of just non-stop crying. Oh yeah, he was also duct taped to a high chair at the cash register, and at the end, Squidward's head hits a frying pan and the ice cream machine, causing even more head trauma. Ink Lemonade Lemonade, though, takes Squidward's suffering to a whole nother level, where he is tricked into producing ink, which is then used by SpongeBob and Patrick for profit. The episode's bizarre and somewhat dark humor sparked significant backlash from fans, many who felt that the torment was unnecessarily cruel and far removed from the lighthearted spirit of the show. A lot of people did not like this. However, not all modern episodes are about purely torture. Take Cold Yellow, for example. Squidward is pumped about getting a nose job, but then SpongeBob insists on taking him to the hospital, where things go pretty bad. SpongeBob fills Squidward's room with plushies and balloons and then gets mistaken for a doctor. He performs crazy but successful medical procedures and even ends up doing Squidward's nose job. After several ridiculous nose attempts, Squidward finally gets his original nose back, though at the cost of some other body parts. In Sold, Patrick thinks his house is sold due to a TV commercial, and SpongeBob thinks the same. They move into a trash house behind the Krusty Krab. Squidward, seeing an opportunity, lies to them, saying that new families have moved into their houses. He dresses up to maintain the lie, but it all backfires. When Squidward's deception is revealed, SpongeBob and Patrick literally flip Squidward's house, causing it to collapse. So when I look at episodes like these, it kind of does show me that the writers are trying to not just completely dog down on the Squidward torture thing, and they're actually taking something from the earlier episodes by actually having Squidward do something wrong. Because I mean, bro, you can't just lie that someone moved into your house. The thing for me that I really like about Squidward torture episodes is the fine line they walk between humor and just outright cruelty. Some episodes manage to strike a perfect balance where Squidward's suffering is humorous and lighthearted, while others go into the territory that just feels excessively harsh and just, I don't know, very uncomfortable to watch. Episodes like Skill Crane and Idiot Box are prime examples where Squidward's misfortunes are played for laughs. In Skill Crane, which it's crazy, I haven't seen this episode in 10 freaking years, but I can remember it so vividly rewatching it. But anyways, Squidward's obsession with winning a toy from a crane machine leads to a series of hilarious failures. But despite his frustration, the episode still remains lighthearted as Squidward's misadventures stem from his own actions and stubbornness. Idiot Box follows the same pattern where Squidward sees SpongeBob and Patrick playing with a big box after throwing away a brand new TV. They claim to be using their imagination to have incredible adventures, which baffles and honestly just annoys Squidward. He tries to understand their fun by using a box himself, but fails miserably. But as we fast forward to the end of the episode, the sound effects coming from SpongeBob and Patrick's box drive Squidward crazy. He becomes obsessed with finding the source of the sounds, leading to a hilarious sequence where he ultimately ends up in a landfill covered in trash. Squidward's character, with his grumpiness and constant suffering, resonates with a lot of people who see him as a relatable figure. And when we compare characters from other shows, it further highlights the broader impact of Squidward torture. In Futurama, Dr. Zoidberg often finds himself in a pathetic and humorous situation, much like Squidward. His character, however, retains a sense of endearing stupidness, making his suffering more lighthearted. Same goes with Benson from the regular show. While Benson's anger and frustration mirror Squidward's, the context often provides him more moments of respect and success, offering a different dynamic to just suffering. So yeah, when we compare it to any other show, Squidward Torture holds in animation. He's literally the symbol for both comedy and just tragic elements in modern cartoon. But yeah, in essence, Squidward Torture is more than just a running gag. For me, and I think for everybody else watching this video, I think we can all agree that it's a narrative tool that just offers insight into the character's psyche, really making Squidward probably the most multidimensional character in the SpongeBob SquarePants universe. And despite these mixed reactions, the evolution of Squidward Torture in modern episodes are gonna be a continuing defining feature of the show, which I'm actually excited to watch.